Um, so that's a good topic. I guess I'll just start the recording. Um, Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday uh, weekly UK Sangha. And we just started talking about loving kindness meditation. So, loving kindness as a means of practice and a technique of practice. And it it's part of the path. So it's one of the four immeasurables. So there's four immeasurable qualities of mind that can be experienced through the purification of your own mind, namely loving kindness, compassion, altruistic or sympathetic joy, and equanimity. So any of these qualities of mind are conducive to samadhi and are conducive to jhana, and then the realization of nibbana. So essentially, it's basic cause and effect. So if you purify your mind, you're going to purify your feelings. So if you're thinking loving thoughts all the time, and if a thought comes up that is unloving and that's a thought of cruelty or animosity or resentment or judgment, then there's a corresponding tension that you feel that goes along with that thought. So you'll feel like some kind of shitty feeling inside of you. You're like, oh, I'm angry at this person, and you'll be thinking, and you think it feels good to be angry at this person, but really, um, there's some kind of contraction going on in your body-mind mechanism, and then eventually you realize that it's not enjoyable. So like after you're done like mentally masturbating to how angry you are, you realize that you've gotten yourself in a big pile of dukkha. So the consequences become clear to you sooner or later. For a lot of people, later than sooner. And then this just leads to um, habitual tendencies that they never wake up to and realize that they're causing themselves their own misery. So the cycle continues. It's like they're hitting themselves on the head with a hammer, and they're like blaming other people for it. Um, that's essentially what it's like uh, to experience the bad feelings that go along with thoughts. Essentially, any thought that isn't lovingness, compassion, equanimity, or sympathetic joy. So this is where we want to stay in. So this is the safest place for our mind to be in at all times. So it's not necessarily always loving kindness per se. Like you're not always feel the love, which is a very healing and very liberating feeling. But there's also equanimity. So a little bit of stoicism, a little bit of um, holy indifference to what's going on in the world and even in your life. So something bad happens, some circumstance happens that's not within your control, and the normal response to do it is to start complaining about it, start lamenting about it in your own mind, uh, think of yourself as a victim of this situation. Um, think of the situation as cause of your suffering rather than your reaction to it being cause of your suffering. So thinking of any situation, circumstance, or person, anything that happens in your life as cause of your suffering is ignorance. And this is just it's like a form of ill will. So there's grosser and subtler forms of ill will. Ill will can come in the form of like overtly like hating someone and like not liking someone, but it can also come in more subtle versions of just complaining, for example, like complaining about something that's happened to you, maybe not verbally, but within your own mind, thinking, oh, this shitty thing happened to me. Why does this always happen to me? And it's always me. And I have to deal with these shitty people. And it sucks, right? Or life sucks. This is boring. This is the same thing I have to do every day. So that's ill will. And that ill will has a corresponding negative emotional state that comes along with it. Um, so so when we have that habit of mind over and over throughout the years, we develop the habit of feeling that way. So now that the body is perpetually in a contracted state, we have to re-engineer the body-mind mechanism to get into a state of lightheartedness, a state of joy, a state of loving kindness, a state of equanimity. Um, and the main way to do this is by uh, changing the thoughts that are happening within our own mind. So um, once you get the thoughts in a wholesome direction and you get the thoughts purified, one wholesome thought after another, this will begin to uh, turn the tides of how the body feels. And oh, welcome, Biku. It's wonderful to have you. We're just talking about loving kindness meditation as a technique, and we're getting into the cause and effect aspect of the kind of thoughts that we're having in our mind correspond with the kind of feelings. So if we're allowing thoughts of cruelty, thoughts of ill will to perpetually continue in our own minds, we're going to feel corresponding suffering and contraction within the body. So again, the practice that we're doing with loving kindness here is not just specific to only loving kindness, because that's one of the four immeasurables. So um, there's also equanimity, and there's also compassion, and then there's also sympathetic joy. So any of these four immeasurable qualities are completely wholesome. So if you have thoughts of loving kindness, one wholesome thought after another of loving kindness, uh, or one wholesome thought after another of compassion or of equanimity. So I like to think of equanimity as a kind of holy indifference or a loving indifference.
Is,
It's not, go ahead, Dean.
is equanimity, this is what I wanted to ask you as well. Is equanimity, is it a feeling like piti or sukha, or is it just a way of looking at things, a neutral kind of way of viewing things? Or is it a feeling?
It's kind of the absence of feelings. So it's not, you're not feeling, so PT would be joy. So PT is like um the uplifted brightening of the mind, the gladdening of the mind. Sort of it's energetic. It brings with it a clarity and an energy and an enthusiasm. So PT can come in the form of just simply being interested in something. So if you're reading something and you're interested enough in it to just continue reading it because you're getting some kind of enjoyment out of the information that you're learning, that's PT right there. Like it's kind of like a motivating energy.
Yeah,
Um,
look, and I know the feeling of piti and sukha. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I'm an expert.
oh yeah,
But
no, but I'm gonna
oh,
get to the equanimity if you
okay.
let me continue. Um, yeah, the equanimity, um, it's it's a state of tranquil neutrality. So if we go in the order of the four jhanas, equanimity is kind of like the peaceful aftermath of joy and comfort of body and tranquility of body. So
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is that do you actually have to visit? Like Nibbana is more like the fourth jhana is like it's just a place to go and cool off. But to get equanimity, do you have to visit Nibbana first before you can cultivate that?
well, the way that Buddha Dasa talks about nibbana is there's kind of different degrees of nibbana. So people conceptualize nibbana as this completely far out thing that's almost makes it unattainable for yourself. But the way that we talk about nibbana is literally just chilling out. So nibbana means to cool off, extinguishment. And so there's
I
different
always like to
degrees.
think of the dog.
The dog, yeah.
I always like to think of the dog just chilling. Like Dhammarato always says, the dog's in Nibbana when he's. That's how they used to use the term back in the day, right? It was more commonplace.
I don't know.
The Pali.
But
He was saying that how. All right, you can go for it.
yeah, so there's the dog. A dog's running around, the dog's restless, and then the dog sits there and is chills out in the same spot that it was chilling out before. So the mind does the same thing. The mind goes around, it looks for something to satisfy it, and then eventually the mind says, okay, this is enough. This situation is enough, and I can just chill out and sit here and not want anything. So that would be like a cooling off. That would be nibbana. But in reference to the jhanas, you can think about entering first jhana as the cessation of hindrances or the cessation of unwholesome thoughts and unwholesome feelings. So in a sense, that's kind of a nibbana. So the craving and aversion within your own mind passes away. So there's a nibbana of that dukkha. So it all has to do with dukkha nirodha, and then but there's still the qualities of first jhana. There's still the factors of first jhana. Um, there's the applied and sustained thought, or the thinking and examining thought. So I like to think of it one wholesome thought after another. So a wholesome thought is essentially anything that has to do with feelings of safety, security, and satisfaction. So this moment right here is enough, and there's no danger here. And so I can think thoughts of loving kindness. I can think equanimous thoughts. I can think thoughts of compassion, and I can think thoughts of sympathetic joy. And so if I get that ball rolling, if I'm thinking completely pure thoughts, one pure thought after another, the feelings are going to start catching up with those thoughts. So you're going to start to feel the way that that the mind is thinking. And then this goes along with all of and this let alone just meditation, this goes along with the whole Eightfold Noble Path. So if you're thinking in a way that's loving and kind, and you're feeling in a way that's loving and kind, naturally you're going to speak and act, etc., in a way that's loving and kind that feels good. And it's literally like a feedback loop, because it feels so good to do it. The mind will begin to incline towards that direction of things more and more. So there's so much habitual tendency to do otherwise through our conditioning, through how we were taught by the society, through how we learned from our parents, and through how we were raised. And we looked at dad, and we see how he reacts to situations, and it may not have been the most enlightened reaction, but that's who we mirror. So we develop these unconscious tendencies to make ourselves feel bad that we have to kind of re-engineer, reprogram, rewire by consistent and diligent practice. So this, when we sit down and we meditate, we're obviously doing this, but when we're out in the world, we need to try to bring back that sati and remember the noble practice. So when somebody pisses you off, how quickly can you wake up to it? Not judge yourself for getting pissed off, because then you're not going to try to stop getting pissed off, because you're going to just pretend that you don't get pissed off. So to be equanimous about what the situation of your mind and of your feelings are in, just look at the situation with equanimity and see, oh, this is the way that it is the first step. So you wakey to what's going on, and instead of judging yourself for it, you can change it in a wholesome direction then and there, and then reap the benefits. So you're just changing the habit of your mind to uh, a wholesome direction of things, and a place where that's conducive to unification of mind, that's conducive to samadhi, that's conducive to serenity, so that insight can be developed. I think the most common problem with Western Dharma practitioners is they're lacking the serenity aspect of things, because only when the mind comes into in a pleasant and enjoyable and a satisfying state is when the mind is sharp enough to discern dependent origination, cause and effect, and the nature of how dukkha, dissatisfaction, arises, as well as how it passes away on more and more subtle levels. So there's grosser and there's subtle levels of our experience, of course. So entering into first jhana is the cessation of dukkha, but now you can look at subtle formations of reality as you experience it moment to moment. So the thinking and examining thought, you can kind of examine, what does it feel like to experience the body? What does it feel like? What is it like to experience vision, and moment to moment, frame by frame? So the sutta in the Pali Canon that goes through all the jhanas is titled the Anupada Sutta, and the translation of that is literally one by one as they occur. So you're experiencing reality one by one as it occurs. So one thought as it occurs, one frame of vision as it occurs, one sound, one feeling, essentially all of the building blocks of our experience. And you pay attention to what's going on within your own mind and your own body. You can become an expert mechanic on how to navigate your own feeling mechanisms so that you can actually feel the way that you want to feel. And when you can feel the way that you want to feel, it just reinforces the ability to discern reality as it actually is. And eventually it all can deconstruct itself. And the experience of nibbana on the macro scale of the cessation of perception of feeling is essentially the whole fruition of the Dhamma, and then you can keep doing what you're doing before, because even if you experience a whole fruition, that's impermanent too. So as long as you're alive, I heard somebody say that all of conditioned reality is dukkha relative to nibbana. So even the jhanas, there's some amount of dukkha there, but it's a whole lot better to be in first jhana than it is to be in the hindrances. So we kind of want to make first jhana our home base. We want to keep the mind in a wholesome state, so we can keep the good times going. So I like to think of the party pooper thoughts instead of hindrances. Everyone knows what it's like to be everyone knows what it's like to be in a good mood and like to, oh, finally I'm happy. But then there's that first thought that comes in and poops the party. Oh shit, I gotta do this tomorrow. Or like, oh, there's that. Or what about this thing that happened 5 years ago and that person rejected me? What about that embarrassing, oh, I did that embarrassing thing I did. Now I feel bad, right? That's a party pooper thought. So you want to spot, the quicker you can spot these, the better you can get at throwing them out, and get back on that wholesome vibe train that you got rolling. But the more you practice this, the more you get it rolling. It develops its own inertia, its own energy. So you can get it. So it kind of comes back. It comes back more, but it takes practice. Essentially, it's just like working
Starts
out.
coming when you're dreaming too.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not dreaming right now, so I don't know if it's coming when I'm dreaming. But
it could, like, you'll see it pop up more often in your like less conscious, like you're kind of coming from sleep to waking up, that mid zone. Like the first thing that kicks on for me is like start looking for the wholesome, start figuring out where I'm at. Like that's the first kind of thing that comes online.
Perfect. Yeah, that's right view. So taking inventory of what's going on inside of you. So looking honestly and clearly at what kind of thoughts and what kind of feelings I'm having. That's the first step. That's right. Right view comes first. So just the vantage point of looking at what's going on, and there's a kind of equanimity with that. So we can see that we're not always going to be experiencing pleasant feelings. There's unpleasant feelings, there's pleasant feelings, and there's neutral feelings. But we can always just look at what's going on and be like, oh, this is a pleasant feeling, or oh, this is an unpleasant feeling. It's nothing more, nothing less.
So that's equanimity there. You're practicing equanimity. Yes. So then, like, Scott, if when I'm in first jhana and I'm just seeing reality unfold, just seeing just looking at things the way they are, that's practicing equanimity. Without like looking at things and trying not to have any perception when I'm looking at them. Just looking, if I'm looking at my foot there now, so I'm just looking at that with no feeling or perception towards it. That's practicing equanimity, is it?
Just see it for what it is. So instead of making a mental map or a mental construct about how the experience of immediate sensate reality, we just experience it as it comes. So you just take life as it comes, like, oh, I'm breathing, I can experience all of the sensations happening from my nose to my chest expanding. And I can experience what does it feel like for my actual diaphragm to expand, and all of the different parts of my body that are actually experienced just by breathing. And then I can notice how pleasant it actually feels to breathe.
And the willingness to feel that is kind of equanimity, like the willingness to be that engaged, not holding back. They're kind of equanimous with what's coming up.
So, equanimity is satisfying, and so is joy, and so is compassion, and so is sukha, and so is loving kindness. So it's more about the satisfaction than it is about one particular thing. So I wouldn't get too obsessed with equanimity or trying to practice equanimity. I think the main point here is to practice being satisfied. So it can come in different forms, right? There's 7 enlightenment factors.
Yeah.
Geez, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, so back to the practice of anapanasati. So once we've gotten enough junk out of our mind, okay, you're heading out. Oh, it's good to have you. Joy to see you. Bye bye.
I'm gonna head out too, guys. Good to see you guys.
Bye bye.
Bye. Have fun.
Yeah, you too. Okay, so once we gotten enough junk out of our minds to actually breathe and experience what it's like to experience the sensations of the breath moment to moment, we can experience also the sensations of the body moment to moment. So what does it actually feel like for the shirt to touch your skin as you breathe? When you breathe, your chest expands and there's a slight movement against your shirt. And you can feel those subtle sensations. And then also you can feel what does it feel like for your butt to be against the chair? And what does it feel like in your neck? And what does it feel like in your back? So now that we are looking at the sensations of the body with clarity and equanimity, we might be able to discover there is tension. If there's no tension, great. Soak it up, enjoy it. Just sit there nice and relaxed and comfortable and just enjoy that. How marvelous it is to be comfortable in your own body. It's really a great feeling. But if there is a tension, now we can release that tension that we were experiencing in the background and have brought to the foreground. So how do we release that tension? By taking satisfying breaths and thinking wholesome thoughts. Everything's fine right now. I don't need to worry about anything. It's all good. If anyone else has any examples of wholesome thoughts, feel free to shoot them out there. But essentially, thoughts that feel good, feel warm, feel cozy, feel satisfying, feels like, okay, I can let my guard down now. I can release some of those tensions that I was holding on to. Some of those tensions that are connected with sort of like the survival instinct, self-preservation instinct. So the body might be tense because there's some amount of fear that's involved. I feel uncomfortable in my bed. So if you're in your bed, you feel uncomfortable, maybe try sitting down somewhere and sitting upright. There is I mean, it is good to yeah, or you can just, or if you're feeling uncomfortable in your bed, you can say, wow, how great it is that I can just lie here in bed. I don't have to do anything right now. Just chill in bed. But if you've been lying down for a long time, and it depends on the type of discomfort that's in the body. So there's some. It's important to know the difference between bodily discomfort that's psychological. So it's caused by the worry in your own mind and the restlessness within your own mind. But there's also bodily discomfort that maybe you do need to change position. You've been sitting that way and your leg is starting to hurt. It's not more wise to just sit there through the pain, like maybe just stretching it out, changing position, or you're lying in bed and you've been lying in bed for too long. Maybe it's better to go for a walk. So just go for a walk or sit upright. So yeah, so like in retreats. There's like physical discomfort that's caused by a bodily need to change position, but that's not the discomfort I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the bodily discomfort caused by the psychological restlessness, and that's the one that we consciously release. If you find that you're not able to release it, then go back to the breath and the wholesome thinking. So that's kind of like the progression. Is there any questions?
I have a couple of questions, but I'm already after asking enough. So DJ or Eric or Anna, come in there.
Oh, go for it, Dean.
Dean.
Go for it, Dean.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, guys, but you were talking about like when we speak to ourselves in hopes and thoughts, it takes the feelings a while to catch up, but once we keep doing it, they do. Why is that? Or how do you?
Oh,
Do you
you're saying why does it take some time for the feelings to catch up?
yeah, because you said earlier on we talk good thoughts to ourselves, but it takes a while for the good feelings to catch up to follow them thoughts. Why
Yeah.
is that?
Yeah, well, it's like when you start if it was really cold last night, you start your car, right? The engine doesn't immediately get warm. So if you're trying to put the heater on, you have to drive it around. So you have to use the car after you start it, but you have to drive it around for the engine to eventually warm up and start blowing warm air through the heater. So it's the same with our mind. Our mind is in dukkha, our mind is in hindrance for so long. One wholesome thought is starting the engine, but we got to drive it around a little. We got to get it going. So you got to warm up the engine, but once it does get warm, you're humming right along. Another analogy is like the swing. So yeah, you have to push the swing harder at first, but once it's swinging back and forth, you just need a little tap to keep the inertia going. But at first, it required a little bit more effort, a little more one wholesome thought after another of consistent practice. And then now you're just having it. Now you're just kind of chilling out. One more wholesome thought. One more. And you can put some space in between those thoughts. So you can, now that you're in a wholesome state, you don't have to be thinking wholesome thoughts like that. You can think a wholesome thought and you can let the mind rest for a little bit. And then maybe just put another one in there. So it's like stoking a fire almost. So when you're first starting a fire, you have to get the kindling, you have to get a bunch of thoughts together. You have to get it started. You have to really take care of it to make sure that flame doesn't go out. So you have to really pay attention to the flame, get it going. But once it's burning, you can just throw a log on there every once in a while. It's the same way.
Okay, that answers that question. And it's just like when Dhammarato talks about pushing the car. I've heard him say it 1,000 times. it's hard to get going, but once you get going, there you go.
Yeah, it really is just simple cause and effect. It's really just that and like doing this reveals how the mind and the universe operates. It's really like abiding by natural laws. It's like it's like physics. If you look at physics and you look at like the property of inertia and the property of even like getting a rocket into space is the same thing. Like it takes a lot of fuel to like get that rocket off the ground. Once you get it going, then it's in space, it's in orbit, it just needs and then eventually it doesn't need any fuel at all and it comes to a complete stop. And that would be Nibbana. That makes sense.
And when, because I know you visited Nibbana twice, you spoke to us about that already. What did you have any work to do when you were in Nibbana, Scott, or was it just did you just have to try hold it as long as you could, or what? Like, because I know in the higher jhanas you hear some stories of people like they might be looking at the horizon and passing away or stuff like that. What did you do? Did you just hang out there for a while, or did you have some work to do?
Nibbana is kind of like it doesn't really last that long, but the relief is almost it's transcendent, so it goes beyond space and time and body and mind. So it's like the Nibbana moment may not even be longer than like 30 seconds, even 10, 5 seconds of the cessation of perception and feeling. But that cessation is so profound because the relief that is experienced afterwards. So there's a flood of transcendent joy. There's a flood of, oh, like everything makes sense now. I've seen what the way it really is, and it turns out there really is nothing to worry about. So what I was practicing in the beginning has come to the full fruition. So you're practicing in the beginning, there's nothing to worry about. Everything's good, all good. I can be satisfied. But Nibbana is just the full realization of that to the very fiber reality itself realizes itself and there's no problems. And that strikes you to your very core in a way that's sort of any doubt that you had about the practice or any doubt that you had about what is and isn't the practice is completely destroyed. So you realize, oh, this is a real thing. Like there's really something to this. And it's the same thing when you get into first jhana, right? So it's just different degrees of the same nibbana. So first jhana is just the cessation of the hindrances. Second jhana is just the cessation of the thinking and examining thought. Third jhana is just the cessation of the piti then. And then fourth jhana is just the cessation of the sukha then. And then nibbana is just the cessation of perception and feeling. So even the perceiving of equanimity and the feeling of fourth jhana passes away. So even though it seemed like all this other stuff passed away, there's still some more stuff that can pass away in terms of the perceptual mechanisms. And when that passes away, then there's the fruition of the Dhamma and insight into the real nature of reality as it actually is.
So are you a because in the Sangha it's open, people can talk about this kind of stuff. So are you a Sotapanya, or do you have to? You said something about fruition. Do you have to go through fruition first?
So this is why it's not useful to talk about this kind of things like, oh, I'm this or I'm that.
You know that, but like
Because
we're in the Sangha, so it's open. You've heard Dhammarato say that 100 times. This is open in the Sangha. We're in the Sangha now.
No, but like if you, yeah, but if you ask Dhammarato, like, oh, are you in Arhat or are you whatever, he's just gonna avoid the question because the question is missing the point. The point is what is not what I am or am
I
not.
know, but it's
That's
just
totally,
interesting to know, and it gives us some more motivation and energy to keep going because we can reach it.
that's what all the thing I've been talking about. I've been telling you that Nibbana is a real experience.
I know that, and we believe you, but like,
That's the motivation. So I'm telling you, but the point is the satisfaction. Even Nibbana is impermanent. You can the weird thing is you can you can experience Nibbana for yourself, and then you can actually cling on to that and cause that your own suffering again by saying, "Oh, I had this fantastic experience, and now I'm not, and now I wish it was that way." So here I am. In fact, I'm just sitting here, a regular guy, just with no thoughts and feelings, and
we see
I'm
you
just
as more than a regular guy, Scott. Now, don't be putting yourself down.
I'm just a regular guy. But that's the thing. It's see, like, the if you put it on a pedestal, it's not like a real thing. It's not that. It's not that unattainable. The real way that it's attained is by um, being in a wholesome state of mind here and now. And but being in a wholesome state of mind is all you need to do. That's the goal. The only goal here is dukkha nirodha. So the goal isn't what you imagine nibbana to be. The goal is coming into satisfaction in this moment. And if you are satisfied in this moment and you're happy to be here and you enjoying the conversation, that's enough. That's it. Nothing. We don't need anything more than that. You don't need a fancy attainment. You don't need a fancy enlightenment. All of those things are mental constructions. They don't exist in the reality as we experience it here and now. This moment is all you're ever going to get. And until you realize that, you'll suffer. So that's the point. That's why the question is not only because it puts me in an awkward position to like say like, oh, I'm this. Um, and also it doesn't help the person asking either. Like
Okay.
I try, like I I look at my experience from moment to moment as it unfolds to me, and I don't, or at least the goal for me is not to change it any way or overlay it or be like, oh, this set of sensations, this body mind that's thinking, hearing, feeling, cognizing, touching is enlightened and is this attainment. And so let me let me go on Reddit and talk about it. It's fucking ridiculous. Like that's kind of like missing the point. Is there any other questions, comments? If
Yeah,
anyone,
thanks for that.
yeah, no problem. And it's I think it's an interesting topic. That's just my response to the topic. Um, um, yeah. If anyone wants to talk about their practice, share anything, any success, any DJ.
That just made me think of sort of the Zen quote. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. Let's just come back to this and enjoy it. I think what's cool though is that again, through all the different things, they're all kind of supporting each other. before we were talking about like equanimity, right? And sort of being able to see past like the Vedana, right? So the feelings of liking, disliking, unsure, right? I mean, part of that is seeing that those change. Okay, cool, and we pull back, and then that makes it so again when the sukha arises or whatever, again it returns more frequently almost in a way when we stumble upon these things. So all these things support and work together in a beautiful way. This is why, like, again, playing with the pitsy, playing with that as well, really working in the confidence, and that feeling of success supports the practice. It supports the sukha supports that, and then again the equanimity supports that as well, and all this just goes to chilling out. And really, that's the thing. Can you
that's
chill out
Nibbana
now?
right there.
Yeah.
That's Nibbana right there,
Yeah.
because Nibbana is the cessation of perception and feeling. But in order to go from feeling bad to feeling good and feeling wholesome, the previous feeling had to pass away in order for the new one to arise. So this happens every moment with all of our experience. Every thought you're having is passing away, is having a nibbana. Every feeling you experience is arising, existing, and passing away, having a nibbana. And this goes for all of your experiences. Nibbana is right now. Nibbana is not separate from samsara. Yeah, so nibbana is now. Get it while it's hot. Uh, don't wait for nibbana to happen in the future. It's never going to happen. It's never going to come. It's not. It's literally now or never. Is there anything else?
Now that you say that, I have a quirky question. If Nirvana is more in the passing away side, then is Dukkha more in the arising side? In the first half of the right now?
Yeah, so dukkha is the arisal, and dukkha nirodha is the passing away. That's essentially what the whole path is, like the dependent origination of dukkha and then the dependent origination of the passing away of dukkha. Like, to even say that it's something is really not the right idea or the right concept of it. It's really just the absence of dukkha. But not just the absence of a certain part of dukkha, the absence of dukkha, any dukkha whatsoever, period, which is the most sublime experience. And it's really the truth of reality, the true nature of reality as it is, without our dukkha creating processes going on. So the whole point is to realize that the dukkha is created. It's dependently originated by the functions of our mind. And the functions of our mind, although it is reality itself unfolding, the functions of our mind can be learned and mastered so that we can realize where the functions of our minds came from and what the functions of our minds really are, so that we're no longer a prisoner, so we're no longer bounded, so we're no longer confined to the prison of the self-identity construct that's really born out of the ignorance of the whole picture, of reality, of the Dhammakaya, the full body of things. So instead of funneling reality through the lens of I, me, or mine, we take out that funnel, we take out that filter, we just experience the whole thing, the whole shebang. And it's amazing, you know. All right. Well, I think that's a good place to at least end the recording for the YouTubers. So everyone say goodbye to YouTube. Bye, YouTube.